All right, time for our viewer outrage segment. The Obama administration recently expanded unemployment insurance benefits to 99 weeks from 26. But Harvard economics professor Robert Barro, in a Wall Street Journal op-ed today, criticized that move. He says it does more harm than good. So, do unemployment benefits last too long? Here's what you said. Bruce? Yes, it's too easy to sit back and collect unemployment benefits. Extension after extension is way too easy. But Roger counters, no. We are the unemployment. We are no jobs out there. If we cut our benefits, the economy would be worse off than it is now. Sorry. Joining us now, we have to debate this Michael Massey, chairman of Project 21, and Mark Sawyer, political science professor at UCLA. Mr. Massey, start with you. Bob Barro says if you subsidize longer unemployment, you are going to get higher and higher unemployment. Is that the case in your judgment?
Well, I certainly agree. Paying people not to work is not an actionable plan to increase private sector jobs or get people back to work. What we need to do to get people back to work is cut taxes, release and loosen, if you will, the tentacles of government from around the throat of business and allow the private sector business and the capitalist market to do what it does best, create jobs. When you start paying people to stay home, every one of us can identify someone personally in our lives that has said, I'm not going back to work, I'm getting unemployment right now. We de-incentivize them. It's just like paying our children and saying, look, you're going to get your allowance whether you do your chores or not. It's okay. You do your chores on your timetable as long as they get done at some point this year. We need to give incentives to get people back to work. And certainly I'm not advocating a lack of compassion, or I'm not suggesting that there are not grave and dire circumstances for people that are unemployed. But we cannot continue with this mindset that we're going to pay endlessly for people to stay home.
Mark, what about that argument that you're fundamentally destroying incentives?
Everyone wants to get back to work. This is where Tea Party ideological nonsense trumps common sense. We used to have a bipartisan consensus that when you have high unemployment, you keep the jobless benefits going. There's 5 workers for every job out there. There are no jobs to be cut. Well, tell me where the jobs are. Tell me where the jobs are. There are 5 workers for every job. It's not, people aren't going back to work because they don't have an incentive. People want to get back to work. These are people who've worked all their lives. And they're sitting there, they're trying to get back in the job market. There's nothing for them. You can give them all the incentive you want. There's no jobs. And what you want to do is give tax cuts to billionaires who are already keeping their money in their mattress and not give it to people who are spending just to keep themselves afloat. It's nonsense. It's ridiculous. And there's no incentive.
This is, I mean, that's a wonderful dialogue and soundbite, but it's a specious argument, and it's certainly one that resonates well in the classroom, but in the real world and in real business, it is not. There's no validity to it. We have, first of all,
how many jobs are available? There are 5 workers for every job.
First of all, that. What we have to do is, or let me say this. The government employee, the government payroll is now somewhere north of 1.2 or 2.5 million jobs. We cannot continue to increase government jobs at an absence of increasing private sector jobs, because we're then seeing, well, what we see then is who is paying for the government jobs, who is putting these people back to work. There is not, as such, a dearth of jobs. There are jobs that people are not perhaps willing to do. There are jobs perhaps that people are not qualified to do, but there is not as such a dearth of jobs. One of the things that Ivan, I want to make sure I get this correctly, Ivan Seiderberg, the chairman of the Business Roundtable, said that in the Business Roundtable judgment, we have reached a point where the negative effects of the Obama policies are simply too significant to ignore. We cannot continue with the onerous business climate that we have, that literally chokes the life out of private business, makes it a very uncertain and uncomfortable environment for investors, makes people stand back and wait. And when that happens, and I'm going getting ahead of myself now, but when that happens, what business does is it tends to turtle. It goes into its shell, if you will. It's unwilling to take the risk because of the uncertainty. That directly affects the employment situation. So what we need to do is encourage business to go out. And this argument that we're talking about billionaires, it's not billionaires. Small business people, $250,000 a year, that's not a lot of money.
Mark Sawyer, what about Mr. Seidenberg's argument? And I want to go a little different way with you and just ask you, since you like billionaires so much. Suppose you extended the unemployment on humanitarian grounds, okay? It's a bad recession. Right. But at the same time, provided the job creators, the businesses, both large and small, with a large reduction in their marginal tax rate and full cash expensing for investment, which is the ultimate hire. In other words, would you go both ways with me? Can we make a deal here on this show? I'll give you the unemployment extension, even though I'm suspicious, but why don't you give me some business tax incentives so they'll go out and hire? What do you think of that?
Well, maybe a payroll tax holiday. I could go for that. And those are the kinds of things that might spur job growth. But we can't get those kinds of deals because people are sitting around talking about why businesses are making record profits. People are taking record bonuses off Wall Street. People are saying that the business environment is unfriendly. It isn't. The unfriendly part of the business environment, I didn't interrupt you. The unfriendly part of the business environment is that there's slack demand, that we're in a deflationary cycle. And you don't stop priming the pump or getting money out there. And so maybe something like a payroll tax holiday or some things like that. But look, the idea that we can't keep people who are unemployed afloat while we're gonna extend tax cuts for people who aren't really investing is nonsense. It's not going to do anything to stimulate the economy, and even that, they're going to go take it and invest it in China somewhere.
I don't know that we're in a deflationary period. I'm not prepared to concede that. But what I will say is that we cannot, the policies of big government today, the way they're treating business, and this has always been an onerous business climate in America, pursuant to taxes and so forth.
The socialist policies of the Clinton administration.
When we have a climate, an economic climate, and an administrative climate that is hostile to businesses, we cannot expect business to reach out and do the things that it would normally do in a friendly environment that would encourage jobs and put people back to work. Not only that, there's this misperception and I'll point to two areas of it specifically. The one is that government has an endless supply of money and that it can simply take care of people in perpetuity that have no job, and that's the compassionate thing to do. That's a fallacy. And the other thing is and I personally look at this, what we're looking at now with the government ever increasing the unemployment benefits and so forth as akin to the New Deal, when the Republicans argued with Roosevelt that by creating this New Deal policy at the way that he was creating it, it would be disproportionately harmful to those that could least afford to be disenfranchised. And not only do we see it, but we see the evidence of that today. And one of the things we're concerned about at Project 21 in the National Center for Public Policy Research is watching that very thing.
All right. Mark Massey, thank you very much. Mark Sawyer, thank you very much.